You'll be our cabinet, who you're going to meet in a little bit. But we like to start all of our town halls before we do anything else. We like to start off with a pule. And tonight we have something very special because John Nouchi, who happens to be our Deputy Director of Transportation Services, which is responsible for a lot of things, not the least of which is the rail. And he's going to do it's the first time here. He is going to do, there he is, there's John over here. He's going to do our opening pule. John Nouchi.
Aloha mai kako. We'll start off with a little chant first of welcome. O naunai ka halame kalehua. He halele hua no ia nakanoi. O ta no ia ia no ini. E ne ho io ka hiki mai. A hiki mai no ko. Hiki puno me ke aloha. 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 So let's take a quick moment to center ourselves. E ho'omalu kako. Let's bow our heads and close our eyes and focus on this moment here. E ko mako mako I loko kalani. E ano mako I Halawa ana mamua o I kia po mai kai. E ho mai ka ike, ke aho nui, ka pono, a me ke aloha wale, mamua o nā mea a pau. E o lelo kākou, e ho'olohe pono ke kahi. Me ke o ma o lelo, e noi a oe. So here we are gathered together on this fine evening, hoping that we can exercise together knowledge, tolerance, patience, all good things, but above all, everything with aloha. Let us speak our truths tonight, but assuredly listen to one another. Aloha ke akua. Amen.
Nicely done, John. Thank you. And we're also going to do something else very special tonight because you had a men's volleyball team win the state championship. We're going to recognize those young men tonight before we kick off. So we're going to bring them in. And Coach T is going to come up here and help me in a minute. But I just want to share one thing that I said to the boys outside. Not that this is about me at all, but when I was in high school, I had the privilege and opportunity to play on several state championship teams. Those experiences single-handedly transformed my life. It's what I told them earlier. What they were able to achieve and what they've won and what they'll hold forever. And I just told them that, we know it didn't happen easily. Takes a lot of hard work and sacrifice to get to this level. The fact that they're the first team that's been able to do it representing this high school, I think is terrific, and I know it holds a special memory for them. And so we really do want to honor you tonight, guys, and tell you really well done for yourselves, for your team, for your coach, for this community, for your families, and for your future. Bravo. Well done. So, Coach and I are going to double team here. And I'm gonna give you the microphone, and I'm gonna be a human prop and just shake their hands. How's that?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
By the way, this is Ian Shuring. He happens to be our Deputy Director of Communications, but also a proud Radford graduate. Okay? Yeah.
John Paul Bucalo. Braden Butai. Mark Kimo Villejo. Noah Toloumu. Afi Tongafao. Blake Sullivan. Jaden Miyahira. Alan J. Medrano. Koa Kometani. Exodia Kaneakua. Ke'ahi Kaneakua. Maika Kalima Ke'ohohina. Kava Kabua. Kaniela Ha'o Jose. Connor Dannemiller.
Is that any other player?
No, here, these are the coaches now.
Did the players and coaches say the same thing on it? No. They didn't? All right. Hang on one second. What I didn't do, and I probably should have done, is at least tell you what this says, right? So you know what each one says. I'm going to borrow yours. I promise I'll give it back. It says, in honor of your dedication and hard work during the 2025 Hawaii High School Athletic Association Boys Volleyball State Tournament, which led to a historic achievement for Radford High School. The school's first ever HHSAA Boys Volleyball Division II State Championship. Go Rams. That's right. Yeah. All right. So we're not going to leave the coaches out because with all due respect to your athletic prowess, guys, you wouldn't have got there without your coaches, right? You agree? All right, so we'll start off with Coach T. Here you go, Coach. Thank you.
Coach Isaac Guerrero. Coach Lorch Toloumu. Maka'ala Sakimi.
So I didn't know there was a husband and wife thing going on, so that's what happened there. But congratulations to both of you. Here you go. Melanie, congratulations. Well done. I love the fact that a woman coached the boys volleyball team to a state championship. Way to go. Hey, guys, thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, now, unless you guys want to stand here the rest of the night, the show's got to go on. Okay? Oh, we're going to take a picture. There you go.
Guys, come this way. Just kind of face me right there.
Can I be in the picture too? Thank you. Yes, you were. Thank you. Way to go, guys. Seriously, congratulations. Way to go. Way to go. Good job. Way to go. Okay? Take care. Good job. Way to go. Nice job. Way to go. All right. What a nice way to start the evening. A couple of quick introductions here. Councilwoman Radiant Cordero is here. Radiant, how are you? Thanks for coming. Councilwoman Val Okimoto, is that you? Yes, it is. It's you. And I saw State Representative Garner Shimizu. He's in the audience right here. I don't believe I see anyone else that's an elected official, but if somebody else comes in, we'll certainly recognize them. Who am I missing? Linda Ichiyama's here. Where? There she is. I'm sorry. My apologies. My apologies. I didn't see you in the back there. Okay, so this is our 6th town hall of the year. We're going to just do 7 this year. We've done 11 the 2 prior years. So if you add them up, This is our 28th town hall, and we're certainly very happy to be back in this area. And it's been a really incredible learning experience for our entire team, which is why we look forward to this. It gives us a chance to really engage at a very real level. And so before I have them introduce themselves, let me just say to you that we came tonight to try to answer as many questions as we possibly can. So it's not that we have a lot of ground rules, but this microphone can be a real temptation for people to want to get up and make a speech. I reserve the right that if you start getting a little bit long-winded, I can appreciate you maybe setting some context to ask your question. But I reserve the right, and I won't be rude, to ask you what's the question if you go on too long, okay? The other thing is that we don't want to have a line form. We've got a couple of hours together. We're going to go straight through to 8:30. We think, especially with the size of this crowd, we should be able to answer any and all questions then. And if we can't get it during our time we're on air, if you really have something pressing, we won't leave here tonight without doing that. So we'll just ask people to come up one at a time, just follow up, and that just works better. It works better for television, but it really works better also for anybody sitting in the audience because a line cuts people off on their point of view. The other thing I want to say is that I can understand passion. I really can. Pride in neighborhood, pride in communities. At the same time, I can understand maybe perhaps frustration over something that maybe has been a lingering problem and you're looking for some relief. All we ask is that you be civil, okay? And we will be civil back. Otherwise, all these police officers will take you somewhere where you never thought you would go. No, I'm just kidding. No, but we want to keep it civil. We want to keep it light. We want to be informative. And I can promise you this with this team, anything that we can't answer tonight to your satisfaction, whatever, that's the whole point, is to make personal contact. And I can promise you after now, this is our 28th town hall, and over the last couple of years, the follow-up is excellent. And that's really why we came tonight, to serve you in that way. And we know that every community is different, okay? So different questions. So towards that end, you can ask us anything you want. There's nothing filtered going on up here tonight, okay? The quid pro quo of that is that you have to be prepared for the answer, because it may not be the answer you want. And I can assure you, we didn't come here to pander to anybody. There'll be no political speak tonight. We'll talk straight with you as you deserve to be spoken to, but, just like that, okay? Fair? Good? All right, I want you to meet these men and women. Now, we've been together for over 4 years. The difference in the second term versus the first term, I know who these people are. I know their commitment. I know their capability. I have great confidence in all of them, including our HPD guys that are here tonight, too. So without any further ado, why don't we start off with you, Chief? We'll go down there from there.
Good evening. Joe Logan, Police Chief of the Honolulu Police Department. I have the honor and privilege to lead the men and women of the Honolulu Police Department. So thank you all for being out here, and looking forward to answering any of your questions.
Good evening, everyone. I am Captain Henry Roberts. I am the commander of District 1, Urban Honolulu.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Hashiro, Director for the Department of Customer Services. We provide service at Satellite City Halls, DMV, and also public communications. Thank you for coming tonight.
Aloha. My name is Laura Thielen. I'm the Director for the City and County Department of Parks and Recreation. Thank you for allowing us to join you tonight. Any of you have young adults at home or even middle-aged adults at home that you would like to encourage to work over the summer? We are still hiring for our summer fun programs. So please come see me after the meeting, because we would love to connect you to great summer fun jobs, and we can hire people as young as 16, and the pay for things like lifeguard is $19 an hour, which is not too shabby.
Aloha, my name is Kurt Lager. I am the director for the Honolulu Ocean Safety Department, and we are the primary responder to all 227 miles of coastlines for emergencies. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Walter. I'm the Deputy Director at the Department of Emergency Management. We help coordinate the planning and response to major disasters that may impact the city. I wanted to share tonight our new H&L alert system that we just launched at the beginning of last month. We're a few days away from hurricane season, and one of the first steps you can take to get ready is to sign up for our new notification system. This is how we're going to be sharing information during emergencies and day-to-day as well. You can create an account. You can scan the QR code right over there by the door on your way out to kind of customize what you want. If you just want to do it quick and only get the most urgent notifications, you can text 888-777 right now. Just text H&L alert, and you're partway there for hurricane readiness. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Nola Miyasaki. I'm the director of the Department of Human Resources, and I have the great privilege of managing the more than 10,000 staff that work across the island of Oahu for the city and county. And we are in recruiting mode. I have a table and one of my top recruiters out here, Jonathan. So if you or any of your family or friends is interested, we'd be happy to share about all of our opportunities with you to join the City of Ohana. Thank you.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Andy Sugg. I'm the Mayor's Chief of Staff, and it's great to be with you all tonight. Thanks for coming.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Krishna Jairam. I'm the Deputy Managing Director for City and County. Thank you all for being here.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Formby. I'm the Managing Director. Good to be here. Thank you.
All right, Roger, before you say anything, I owe it to these guys to cut in, okay? Hang on one second. Just so you know how the city works, Managing Director Mike Formby and his deputy, Krishna Jairam, all of these men and women report to them. The only person who reports to me is the Corporation Counsel, the head lawyer, and she's not even here tonight, so what can I say? But honestly, they do all the heavy lifting, absolutely brilliant men, and Andy, as Chief of Staff, is sort of my alter ego, and we try to cover as many bases as we can in one day. It can only be at one place at one time, and so, but I really want you to understand that. So having Mike and Krishna both here tonight is incredible because there is a resource for all of you, and anything that comes up tonight on the follow-up, you can count on it. So thank you, Roger. I'm sorry to do that, but
Okay, aloha and good evening. Roger Babcock. I'm Director of the Department of Environmental Services. We take care of the city's wastes, including sewage and rubbish. Thank you.
Aloha, everybody. I'm Donna Puna of DPP. Please follow us on Instagram at honolulu.dpp. We're sharing a lot of the new things that we're doing. Thank you.
Aloha, my name's Gavin Thornton. I'm the Deputy Director of the Office of Economic Revitalization. If you're a small business owner or entrepreneur, I encourage you to meet with our folks back there. We've got a table for you. Mahalo.
Aloha, my name's Anton Krucky. I'm the Director of Department of Community Services. We do all the human services activities, support that for the city. That includes all of the federal government activities, public housing. We do the work training programs, and we also, in our group, we have child care and homelessness in that group, right? And we also do the grants and aid for the city. Well, thank you for allowing us to join you tonight.
Good evening. I'm Vance Suda, Hearts Project Director, Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transit.
Good evening, Reed Yoshida, Assistant Chief of the Honolulu Fire Department. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Roy Miyahira, the Director of Homeless Solutions. I'm here to execute our homeless strategies and find a better path for our folks who are in a difficult situation.
Good evening and aloha. My name is Ben Sullivan. I'm the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency. I get to work with all these fine folks as they advance their operations to be prepared for climate change. I also have the opportunity to work with all of you in community to increase our resilience, our safety, and our health in the face of all the changes we face with climate. If you want to learn more about our office, go back there and talk to my great staff team back there that are waving their hands. Thank you.
How's it? My name is Haku Millis. I'm the director for the Department of Design and Construction. We oversee
various construction projects for different city agencies and departments. Thank you all for being here.
Good evening. My name is Ian Santi. I'm the Deputy Director of the Honolulu Emergency Services Department. Our department consists of our health services for pre-employment and current employee physicals, our 911 services for EMS ambulances, and our city's core program.
Aloha and good evening. My name is Warren Mamizuka. I am the Deputy Director for the Department of Facility Maintenance. Thank you for having us.
Good evening, Tracy Kubota, Deputy Director, Department of Enterprise Services. We have the Blaze of the Waikiki Shell, 6 municipal golf courses, and the Honolulu Zoo. Thank you for all being here tonight.
Aloha, I'm Carrie Castle. I'm the Deputy Director with the Budget and Fiscal Services Department. Included in our department are divisions of real property tax, budget, and treasury. Thank you for being here tonight.
Aloha everyone, I'm Valea Constantino, and it's my great pleasure to work with everyone here on the facilitation of the permits and outreach for the movie and television industry. We also do all the marketing to try to attract productions to come to the islands.
Aloha, good evening. John Nouchi, Deputy Director, Department of Transportation Services. We plan and engineer complete streets, do traffic signals, parking, and operate and oversee all transit, including Skyline, the bus, and Handy Van. Thank you for sharing this space today.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Kevin Auger. I'm the Director Designate of the Department of Housing and Land Management. And our top priority is accelerating the delivery of affordable housing across Oahu. Thanks for being here.
Good evening. My name is Brian Gallagher. I'm the Deputy Director for DPP. I attended Radford High School. Go Rams.
Aloha, good evening everyone. My name is Jordana Ferreira, the Child Care Coordinator within the Department of Community Services. We're working to provide more affordable child care opportunities for our hardworking families and our youngest keiki across the island. Mahalo for having us here tonight.
Yeah, aloha. My name is Stephen Courtney, Deputy Director for the Department of Information Technology. Our department comprises of about 160 staff members that provide information technology services to not only 30 departments/agencies across the city, but also to the citizens and businesses on Oahu. Thank you.
Aloha everyone, my name is Kira Shushon. I'm the City and County's Chief Data Officer, and actually I work for everybody here to the left, right, and in front of me. Thank you for having us.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lloyd Yonenaka. I am the Executive Secretary for the Neighborhood Commission Office, and we oversee all of the neighborhood boards. I know we have some board members here tonight. If you could just raise your hand. Larry, Kathleen. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Aloha. Ernie Lau, Honolulu Board of Water Supply.
Thank you, Ernie. All right, there you have it. I got a couple of quick introductions left. I said that if anybody came in who was an elected official, I would introduce them. Shirley Tempo just got in the room. Shirley's here, state rep. Also, integral to everything that these folks behind me do is our communications team. And so Scott Humber, who's our Director of Communications, is back there. You've met Ian Shuring. He was out here, the Radford grad with the volleyball team. Ian's in the room somewhere. Ryan Wilson over there, Brandy Heeger over there, there they are. And this young man right here is a member of our youth commission. I love it when they show up. So Dominic Bonifacio has been really good at coming to our town halls. You get an A at the end of the year. He's right here. Thank you, Dominic. All right, thank you. So here we go. I don't know who wants to come up first. Like I said, keep it civil, keep it short. We want to answer as many questions as we possibly can. Fair? All right, who wants to be first? Here you go. The only thing we ask is identify yourself, name.
Okay, how's it? My name is Pedro Ibarra, and I'd like to thank everybody over here for your service. My question is, my concern is, I'm an ex-Halawa prison inmate, and I'm suffering with a lot of ailments, blood issues, MRI head issues, all kinds of stuff. I went in there to get off of opioids. Till today, I'm still clean. But I suffer. But I suffer with all these ailments. And I talked to Ernie Lau last year. I met him at the Red Hill meeting, and he said they would reroute the water to the prison in 2022. I was in there before that. And I see a lot of guys that I know that was in there with me. And they sick. We sick. And I never know. It took Khalil Patterson.
Yep.
One morning I saw him on the news. And he was standing in front of Halawa prison, and he was saying, the brothers drinking dirty water. And I was looking at that and said, hey, that's Halawa. And then when shoot me back to when I was in there, from 2019 to 2020, I did 15 months. Constantly in the medical unit for just things that are out of the ordinary.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, how can the prison, because I'm going to try to go through the internal affairs and have them investigate, how can the prison get away with covering up the fact that they had contaminated water?
Okay. What's your first name?
Pedro.
Bedford. I don't know if anybody up here is equipped to answer that.
I don't see nobody from the DOC up here now.
Yeah,
Tommy Johnson.
we're in the operational end of things. The Department of Health at the state, and I'm really hesitant to start saying that because we try to take on as much ownership of situations as we can, which is why we're here. But maybe we can talk to you afterwards and get you directed to somebody at the state. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as I know, Ernie, you'd be pretty quick to speak. I don't think we're providing contaminated water to the prisons now, are we?
We're not. You're off the Board of Water Supply system. However, the prison is located right next to the underground fuel storage tanks. So when they ventilate, some of the vapors might get over. So that's a concern. I pointed that out to the Navy, and they're monitoring air quality as they're venting the tanks.
Oh yeah, you could smell. I mean, everything is bad in the prison.
So Bedford, we'll get aside with you. If you stick around, we'll get you directed to the right people. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who's up? Come on. And just feel free to walk up after we finish with whomever's in. There's one other thing I want to say that I probably should have said. There may be a variety of topics. I know we're starting off a little bit shy here, but once we've covered a topic, I really don't want to revisit the topic over and over again. That's why we want to get as many questions. So once we cover something, hopefully we'll do it to the satisfaction of the whole group, not just the person asking. We'll move on. Okay. So, okay, sir.
Yeah, my name's Dave Musso, and I live right across the street here in Foster Village. My daughter was a class president over here a couple of years ago.
Good for you, Dave.
Thank you. And I'm really concerned about this area because of the walls and the noise. And I heard, they redid this light, and they're going to have cameras and and speeding and all that. But I think when they did do this or something, they didn't go around the neighborhood and ask what the deal is here. And I don't think they put in the noise sensors. And the noise around here is terrible. When we got gangs of these small scooters and whatever, is there a limit to how many people can be riding in the same gang or something, or
I don't know if there's a limit. That's a good question. Chief, I don't want to burden you with that because I'm not so sure.
The noise level, is there a law against the noise?
Dave, as we said, we go to a lot of districts. That's ambient noise stuff is not uncommon. I'm not saying that's acceptable, but we hear that. Chief, anything you want to offer on that?
No, if you're talking about decibels, the Department of Health measures decibels. And I know when I was a young solo bike officer, we used to be out there with the measurement device. They would measure, we would cite. So there is a capability, but the state owns that requirement for the loud noise. We as a department don't have one. The mayor doesn't have a Department of Health for the city, and so that measuring belongs to the state. But there are laws that can be. We can handle some of those laws that are for loud noise and things. So
can I interrupt a little bit?
Go ahead.
Now I specifically have called the police for action on noise.
Right.
And they come, and I said, "There's the guy right there. There's the car." It backfires. It's set up to backfire. And he's constantly doing it in this neighborhood. And I tell him, he said, I'll get him. When? When are you going to get him? I mean, he just sat there. He said, oh, don't worry, cuz, we'll get him. Hey, man, that was terrible.
So I don't know the case, but yeah, it sounds like an officer needs to do their job. And
I mean, I said, he
enforce
just
the
went
law when
by.
it has
Go
to.
get him.
All right, so I think what we'll do, Dave, is we'll get we'll find out, and we'll get contact, and maybe we'll set up something with HPD that gets you the results you want.
And
Okay.
I mean, these walls right here, there's probably going to extend down here through Salt Lake Boulevard once they open it up.
Right.
Anyway.
All right, Dave, we'll follow up. We'll get somebody to talk with you, get your contact, we'll get back out, and we will get him. Okay? Larry.
Yeah, Mayor Blangiardi. Larry Verre, Chair of the Pearl City Neighborhood Board. First thing I want to say is thank you to all the staff. Our board has worked with Gene Urbano, Director Urbano, as the mayor's representative. He's done a fantastic job. He's always answering all our questions and issues, and he goes out to all of you to find those answers and come back to us. But I want to thank you all because we've been very satisfied working with Gene.
Thank you.
But I do want to bring two things to your attention. This affects all of us in here. The gentleman here that just brought up the issue on noise.
Yep.
You know, once upon a time, I remember when I first came here to Hawaii in 1974, it was so quiet. Our residential areas, our neighborhoods. I cannot conduct a Pearl City Neighborhood Board meeting at Momilani Community Center without being interrupted 4 to 5 times by loud boom boxes, by loud stereos, and of course the intentional backfiring. You know, granted, I remember the law was you had to have a decimal meter. I'm a technology guy. I know it is for sound, I know for signals, interference, all that stuff. You just heard that boom box, that was 1 block away. You think he should have got a ticket? Yes. Who's going to give him the ticket? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, we really need to come up with a solution on this, and I ask you all. The other thing, too, is secondly, it was really sad to see the playground equipment burned up in Waiwa. And Ms. Thalen, you know, your team is doing a great job with parks and recreation, and I can't overemphasize with Val Aquino here right now and Radiant Cordero, there's a bill that's going through. We need to integrate technology to work some of these problems, specifically for our children, to keep them safe, and also for the material that you have to keep track of. I strongly support, and for technology, we're too slow. It takes too long to get these speed cameras in. We've got noise interruptions every Friday, Saturday night in Aiea, Pearl City, Waipahu with the racers. I'm on the phone with Donald Sakamoto because they're racing all the way to Kaneohe and they're coming back. So I asked Mayor, we need to speed up this technology for cameras, the stranger danger for the playgrounds. We need to do post facto reconstruction when something happens. We need that capability. That's all I got to say, sir.
All right, we appreciate that, Larry. And I will tell you that we are embracing technology throughout the city. You know, the urban core, we've installed a lot of cameras, and I came from a technical field too, okay? And that's a good deterrent. You know, one footnote, and I hope I'm correct on this, I believe, because we were so disgusted about what happened in Wahiawa, I am so waiting to get a call from HPD to tell me they found that person, but I believe we've replaced the equipment. And we did so very quickly. That was a real shame that happened. But this, as I told Dave, who's the guy, this ambient noise thing is generational. That wasn't existing in '74. Maybe they didn't have the machines that would make the noise. We hear this in a lot of places. It's hard to catch all of that. And it's not an excuse, but we understand what you're saying, and we could talk about what's happening here. I think the disadvantage right around here is you're near a high school.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
All right, take care.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
Cabinet members, thank you so much for coming. I would like to give a big...
And your name is?
Oh, Deborah King. I'm a resident in Chinatown. And I would like to give you a big mahalo because every time I have asked questions, there has always been follow-up. And tonight I have 2 concerns. Hopefully somebody can help me address. I live in Chinatown, and as I'm coming north King Street into Chinatown, there is an intersection there at River Street, and the left-hand lane has an arrow to turn left, and there are several signs, and one sign says no left turn. So I don't want to get ticketed, or I think there's just a lot of misconfusion there. So if somebody could let me know or fix that, that would be great.
Where's John Nouchi when we need him? Did you hear that? We have a light with a left arrow and a sign that says no left turn.
But we also have two signs that say, one says left-hand turn, then over it says no left-hand turn, and then on the opposite corner it says left-hand turn only for small cars. So it's just a lot of confusion there.
No, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Actually, we heard about that a couple days ago, earlier this week.
Okay.
What turned out is someone actually moved and pivoted the sign around. And so we're going to, my engineers, I think, went out either yesterday or today. And then as soon as we figure out, like the best way to maybe angle all the signs like that, we're going to turn over to our Department of Facility Maintenance.
Okay, great.
And they can help us replace and maybe resecure the sign.
Wonderful. I just don't want to get a ticket.
Okay.
And
What's the second concern, Laura?
The second concern is I know that in Chinatown we have a lot of parking lots that are scan code only for pay. And I know that I don't have that capability, and I think some others don't have that capability. So, I wish there would be some alternatives, like maybe you can call a phone number to pay if you want to park in that parking lot. So just concern for future thought, especially I know that some of the municipal parking places, they say credit card only. And if I'm aware of it before I go in, I can avoid those if I don't have my credit card.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Laura. Thank you. Thank you. I did. It was great. Thank you. All right. She's up, and then you, sir. How's that? Sir, you can sit right there. Yeah. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, my name is Hilda, and
Hilda?
I have a very short question, but I'm afraid the answer will be long. But so anyway, I think it's a question that's in a lot of people's mind. What's the status of the rail?
What's the status of the rail? That's a big question.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So what would you like to know about it?
What is the short of it?
Okay.
In other words, when can we start riding the rail?
Okay.
From one end
to the other? To where it's going to stop?
To where it's supposed to stop.
So, you're here making your debut tonight, Vance. You could try this. I'll try, and then you try. How's that? Well, first of all, I'm very happy to tell you that when we came into office, I was the 4th mayor to touch the rail. And it wasn't operable, and it was really in a challenged state. And the FTA is our financial partner in the deal, and the construction had withdrawn and not done anything since 2017. We've changed all of that dynamic, and sure enough, on June 30th, 2023, 2 years after we got in office, the rail operates from East Kapolei to Aloha Stadium. The rail will now begin operating in October. I wish you guys would take it outside. Excuse me, Dave, your voice is picking up on this whole thing, so if you could take it outside, it would be good. So come this September 30th, actually October 1st, Skyline will now go from East Kapolei all the way to Middle Street, okay? And that's going to take us through the 2 gates at Pearl Harbor and the airport, 2 of the 3 biggest employment centers on the island. So we're excited about that. Our completion date to get to Halikuila and South Street, Kaka'ako, for this first phase will be done somewhere in 2030 or 31, most likely 2031, early 2031. We just today are having conversations that will get released to the public because there's different alternatives, are going to begin talking about phase 2. Phase 2 will hopefully, no doubt, get at least to where we intended originally, to Ala Moana, and probably deeper into the west side. But there are also some other alternative legs. So I can tell you that people not too long ago were saying, stop the rail. Today, the narrative is completely different when they start to look at the possibilities and they want more rail. And I think what you're going to find very quickly now, as we get more operational, is a lot of housing and other things are going to be happening in respective communities along the rail lines. So that's I could give you a lot more detailed answer. Vance, is there anything you want to add to that?
Nope, well said.
Well, oh, he's not going to go well said. I don't want to take any thunder away from you, but oftentimes Lori Kaikina is here. She's not tonight. She's the CEO. But I hope that that answers your question. You seem to have a concerned look on your face. Is it?
Well, I'm glad I'm not the mayor. I know it's a big job.
Yeah.
Okay, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
I voted for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have another question.
Can I
but
just add one other thing I think is really important?
just one question.
Yes, stay here, but let me add one other thing, and this is what's unique about this rail system. Aside from the fact that it's autonomous, you know, it doesn't have anybody driving it, and if you haven't been on it yet, you should really take a ride. But we know that the incentive to go from East Kapolei to Aloha Stadium wasn't enough incentive to get people out of their cars, because getting on a bus at Aloha Stadium to go east into town was not time efficient. But now when we can take people where they want to go to work, Pearl Harbor, airport, or just to get to those destinations, and as we build in the Dillingham corridor, the amount of transit that's going to create is going to be substantial. But here's what's good about the rail. When we came in and we had to sort out the problems and where we were and how could we went back to the FTA, we did an analysis of how much money had already been spent. And the money that had already been spent was close to $6 billion. Then we said, okay, how much money is left based on the OTA, the OTAT, GET, money that the city had, getting the remaining balance from the FTA of $744 million. And we added all that up and it came out to $9.8 billion, okay? 9.8. They'd already spent 6, so we had nearly $4 billion to work with. Then the question was, how far can we go? And that's when we shortened the line from Aliamanu to Halekulele and South Street. That's a 1.25-mile stoppage, okay? 18.75 miles, first phase. The good news is, when we get there in 2031, unlike other municipalities around the country, the rail will be completely paid for. There's no debt going forward. After that, it'll just be purely operational and based on ridership fares. It'll probably always operate at a bit of a deficit, as all public transportation does. That's part of what you get for your tax dollars. But that's a good thing, and that enables us, from a planning standpoint, to talk about additional rail. In other cities, when they build these metropolitan complexes, they end up floating bonds decades into the future, and it complicates it. But we have to work within our limits here. You know, we're a big city or island with 1 million people, but that's a finite amount of resource compared to other places. So I feel really good about where we are, and we really plan on being able to deliver on, I don't want to say on time, I used to say that before, but we are on schedule. What's your second question?
Another one that I know it's not just my question, and it's actually a worldwide problem, which is homelessness. So what are we doing here in Hawaii to, I don't know,
Well, we're doing a lot, and I'm going to have Anton come up and speak about it, because I really want you folks to hear. I could talk about this. This is a subject near and dear to our hearts, and I can promise you what we're doing and have begun doing in collaboration with the state is unprecedented. It's a very complex problem. I'll give you one perspective. I'll turn it over to Anton. The point-in-time count, which they do every year, now that they do it every other year, says it's around 4,500 people that are homeless. And I think the number is bigger than that. In fact, I doubled the number and say, I think it's, if they say 45, I think it's 9,000. But to give you a perspective, 9,000 homeless people, which the homeless service providers said that's too high, but I'm going to use that number. That still represents less than 1% of our island's population at 1 million people. Yet that 1%, and in everybody's face. And I understandably, I think Anton will give you some details on what he doesn't say, I'll add to it. But I can tell you, single-handedly, that's one of our top crises, because it's a nexus to public safety, it's a nexus to public health. And we get that, and it's very, very important. It's also very complicated. And I'll let Anton say whatever he wants to say, and then I might fill it in. But let me just give you a quick perspective. And I'm not up here to talk about the past. We're up here to talk about the future. But when we came into office in January of 21, it was in the middle of the pandemic. And when these men and women, most of them at that time, signed up in November and December to be part of this leadership team, things were very dark on our island. We had been shut down since March. The fear and the uncertainty was unlike anything I've known, and I've lived here for 60 years. There was nothing like that ever before. There was no talk of vaccines even being available then, when these people said that even though we didn't know what we were facing, They wanted to serve the city. The city, this island, had two major crises for decades. One was housing. You heard Kevin introduce himself tonight and what we're doing in housing, and hopefully get a chance to answer that. And the other was homelessness. Two major crises, connected in a lot of ways, but very different in the solutions. There was one person at the city with an administrative assistant in charge of both. So from our standpoint, there wasn't a good game plan. There was no effort to really create a viable solution. And that's how it was for the first couple of years, because COVID lasted up for us about a year and a half. Governor Ige was then leaving. When Governor Green got into office, we began a collaboration 2 years ago. I'll let Anton talk about that. But the work we're doing right now, the things that we expect to do, are going to be terrific. But I'll just say this. We're not going to end homelessness. And people who say that, we're not going to do that. What we're looking for is functional control of the situation so we can deal with the people who are really need the chronic homeless, people who've been out there for a long time on the streets, 10 years, addicted to drugs, mental illness, really difficult situation. Anton, why don't you take it from there?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that question. Kind of hang with me for a second, because I think the subject, as complex as it is, what I'd like to be able to convey to you is that there is a strategy. And then what are the actions we take around the strategy that we have? And so as complex as homelessness is, right, the strategy breaks down into two pillars, right? And so what we try to do is we try to do everything creatively we can come up with to get somebody to be willing to engage the system, right? And so what we've done is we've also segmented the individuals that are out there. So I don't have a goal to house everybody that's homeless. Some people need medical treatment, and sometimes it's drugs, sometimes it's mental health, but they have their people, so they have all the diseases that we all have, but they're not being treated. And so we need to put those people in treatment areas in ways that can help them in their livelihoods, but housing them won't work. And so by doing these segmentations, it also lets us target what we're trying to do with people that will help them. So examples of everything creatively we can do to get somebody to engage the system: CORE, part of our emergency response system. These are folks that are not with guns or uniforms or such, and they can approach somebody, and they have sort of a medical take to them, and over time they can build some trust and get somebody to be willing to engage the system. Other people have real social, antisocial behaviors. Those folks need HPD, and HPD is a big part of our homeless strategy in being able to segment the people on the street that provide, because they have the public safety concept for you. Other things we do is we open up things like medical respites to convince somebody to come into the system, right? So what you need really is a bed, treatment, and what we're doing there really helps us with people that were being discharged that you saw from the hospital, where HPD or someone has taken them to the hospital, they called 911, they go into the hospital for a day, they get some treatment, and then the hospital releases them right on the street. And with our medical respites and CORE, we can engage those people and bring them into the medical respite. So everything we can do creatively to get somebody to be willing to engage the system. The second pillar really are what are the resources we can come up with to service those decisions. And so we have a lot of resources that we put in play. But the mayor mentioned an unprecedented time of partnership between the state and the city. Last year alone, we created 700 new beds for homeless. Many of those beds turn over 3-4 times a year. So you can see the amount of bed space that we're doing. Because if we ask somebody if they want beds and all they do is move, they're still homeless somewhere. They may not be right where they were, but they're homeless somewhere. But if we can get them to a bed, we have much more chance of moving them along in the journey, and then they're also not on the street. So last year alone, over 700 new beds, and many of those turn over again and again. Another example of both resources and strategies is our HONU operation. And we had it in Blaisdell Park last year, right? And that HONU operation, what it is, it's a set of 40 beds, and we can then ask people to come in, especially where maybe we've done an action on the street, where you've asked us for public safety reasons to clean up, there's laws being broken. you know, we have a place to take somebody, we can offer them a bed. And we triage people in there quickly. Yeah, it could be 3 days, 10 days, but then we move them on to the next solution. Honu in itself continues to average 58% of the people that come into it get placed. They get placed in shelters, they get placed in housing. Some people we send back to the mainland, some people we send to medical facilities. But 58% of the people that come into Honu, you know, they get placed. Now, I know I got one report tonight from one of the citizens. Some folks came back out from the bike path that were down there, and we'll go check that out because that bike path is a tough situation, and you've lived with it for a long time. But really, as the strategies that we have, and you can see we put more different kind of resources into getting someone to be willing to make a decision to engage the system, and then analyzing the resources, both market segmentation of what kind of people need what kind of resources, and then adding the beds that we have. We need more beds. We need beds of many flavors to really deal with this issue, really be able to manage it, which is what our goal is. But we do have strategies, and then what we do is we look for the actions that are deployed along those strategies. Thank you.
All right, so let me just embellish just a little bit more. That's really well said, Anton. Just to give you just a little deeper understanding, prior to our coming into office, we knew that the homeless effort and strategy, along with the fact there was only one person in charge of homelessness and housing, wasn't working, which was pretty much call 911, which would then dispatch HPD and an ambulance, EMS. They would arrive at a scene. If there was nothing criminal going on, usually HPD would leave, but oftentimes they got asked almost to be social workers at the scene, take the person to the ambulance. Most of them would go to Queens Hospital, where they had no room to treat them. They would stay there, take them to the emergency rooms, treat if there were any wounds, give them a shower, maybe take care of a sore or something, bandage them up, and then put them back out in the street literally hours later. And that was ineffective. Queens was losing $500 million a year. It was really challenging for HPD, which is already stretched from manpower, really challenging to send out ambulances as well. That system wasn't working. So what we've done in conjunction with the state, and I'll just give it to you the following, and we can move on, and why it's unprecedented. Not only, we need a place to take them. Anton said 700 beds, beds to turn over, a place to take them. We invested as a city about $140 million to do that, of these places. Some of those places that we invested in are going to be knocked down, ultimately converted to housing. That's why we bought the locations and the real estate. But in the interim, that's what we're doing. We then started CORE, which cost us about $3.5 million a year to run. It's about 40, we'll be 40 people. We're moving out to the west side to White Power with some. They're all clinically trained and have a capability, but they become the mobile crisis unit to take the pressure off of HPD and EMS going to a scene. So we now have a mobile crisis unit. This is out of best practices of cities that we saw that can go out there, build a relationship, establish trust, and be able to take them to these beds. Where the state comes in, because the state has a Department of Health, we're going to get from Governor Green this year, $30 million to pay the homeless service providers that provide all the services. And as Anton just said, one of the things that we're learning now, that we're giving them medical treatment, to give you a perspective, is many of these people who are chronic homeless, who really don't want to be in a place, they don't want rules, they want to be able to take their drugs. It's not easy to deal with. They've been out there a long time, and they suffer from illnesses, mental illnesses that has a hard time making them rational. There's a lot of depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, and PTSD out there, all of which are treatable medically. But that said, we now have an opportunity to pick them up, a place to take them, which keeps everything within the law, and now we're treating them medically. And the two things that we're learning in treating them is a lot of sickness out there as well. About 60% of these people are probably suffering from something terminal. We see a lot of cancer, a lot of organ failure, heart disease. And as it is, I need to get a really updated statistic on this, we lose about one person a day out there dying on our streets. We're too good as a people to let that happen. So what we're doing is humane and effective. It won't end it, but this is a very different treatment. Add to that, if I could just say one thing on behalf of HPD, a lot of bad characters, bad actors hanging out in the homeless sector, of those people we talked about. And in the urban core alone, when we started Weed and Seed and Safe and Sound in Waikiki, wanting to protect that with HPD, in the last 3 years since we began those programs, we've made about 5,000 arrests. Now, those aren't 5,000 different people. We got a lot of bad actors with long rap sheets. But we have zero tolerance of bad behavior while we're trying to treat sick people, people in need, as humanely as possible. That practice, that effort has not happened before. And we've already, less than 2 years into it, are starting to see some dramatic results. But I'm very excited about the road ahead because the possibilities now that we've got the system working is very cool.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just add to that for your own use. We are moving much closer to being able to do involuntary pickups on the street of people that are mentally ill, that are having episodes that you're noticing, that you're worried about, and they're a danger to themselves or they're in danger to others. And we're getting very close to being able to execute something that's never been able to be executed before. You know, we work, a lot of times we've been handcuffed by the ACLU, but we've done well in that arena. I know I was one of the testifiers in the last court case, the injunction, and we won that one. But when you're talking about this in your own interactions, if you think it's dangerous, don't approach the person, call 911. If you think it's dangerous, call 911, that's what they're there for. However, if you don't think it's dangerous, but you'd like somebody to respond, you can then call our core unit, and their number is 768-CORE. 768-CORE, and they will respond and take care of that situation. So those are two tools you have, and when you call in, you let us know, because then we'll know what's happening, where it's happening, and we'll do all we can to respond.
Very last thing, and then we'll move on. But we said we wanted to cover some subjects as deeply as we can. In talking about the mental illness out there, it's amazing. A lot of these people, now that we've been treating them, and we've reunited people with their families, are very different once they get their meds. They've been off of meds. And so there's a lot of treatment for people with schizophrenia, bipolar, even PTSD, and depression, and we've reunited. You know, we talk about Ohana here. It used to be people would take care of people. But a lot of families just couldn't deal with it anymore. And just from the Ala respite, the last count I heard was like 18 people were reunited with their families. There's another thing out there in the involuntary hold that we're doing. It's part of the legal system because the Supreme Court has changed some rules. And we have a thing called guardians ad litem that we can get permission to do certain things. The antipsychotic drugs that are out there, injections, I would tell you, I've seen amazing transformations in people that last up to 6 months. So there's some hope, not all, but a lot. And so we're doing things, like I said, Larry was talking about state-of-the-art embracing technology. I promise you, what we're doing here and the success we're having is right out there as far as what's the latest you can do legally and what's the latest you can do to be effective. So I hope that answers everybody's question. It's a very complex subject. Just ended on this. Hate to see people suffering like that. We all do, and we're trying to do something about that. Sir, you're up.
Yeah, my name is Matt Sorensen, and
Matt.
this also involves the homeless set up. So I am taking care of some homeless people myself and doing everything I can, but the biggest problem I notice is that they just don't have anything to do. They just sit around. And so my solution would be to try to round up all these homeless people and take them to a farm or something up like Kunia and teach them to farm and give them activities to do up there so they're in a situation where there's no drugs and there's no way they can get influence and stuff. So it's probably be more like a prison or something like that, but the ACLU is
Well, you know,
probably
we may end up evolving to something like that. I mean, I want to be real practical with you. The motivation levels is really low. You know, people with the chronic who've been out there for a while, they don't want, you've got to bring them along. Something like that is, I think there's a lot of possibilities going into the future. We'd like to see people not only into housing, permanent supportive housing, but have things to do and have jobs. So,
yeah, so they need stuff to do, so they have a trade or something, they learn something.
Yeah.
Because apparently they
IHS
never
does
learned
some stuff like that, but we're going to continue to advance like that. Right now, I want them off the streets, help them.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for taking care of those people. He's up then after you. There's plenty of time. Les, we'll get to you. I see you here, okay?
Mr. Mayor, I have two questions. My name
Yeah.
is David Yomes. I'm the chair for this area neighborhood board. One is regarding the Salt Lake Waterway. We discussed that last year's
Yep.
your mayor's speech, but you assigned Director Gene Albano to assist us with the help of Kyle Tokuda. Both gentlemen did really good, helped us along the way, but we're still having some issues. Our politicians, Senator Glenn Wakai, Linda Ichiyama, Radiant Cordero, Garner Shimizu, they're all helping us with this problem, a stink stench that continues along the waterway because of the stagnant water. The property is supposedly owned by the country club. I had meetings with the country club and meetings with the city. Country club just loves to blame the city, saying that's their responsibility.
Okay.
My question to you is, to cut it short, my question to you is, there was $1 million given from the city to HCC in a grant to clean up this waterway. Nothing was done. Somebody took the money and ran, so I confronted HCC, went there. They blamed the prior owners of HCC. So my question to Mayor, can you follow up on this and see?
Well, I happen to know the prior owner. I could talk to him, it's Tomi Otaki, but I don't know. Does anybody know about this grant of $1 million? This is the first I heard. Warren, you never heard of that either, right?
No, this is the first that I heard of that
Yeah.
$1 million grant.
This is from
The city.
from the new owners saying that the old owners took the money, not them, and they didn't do anything. So
Where are we, well, that aside, the money part aside, where are we with respect to, you talked about Gene and
Yeah,
the stench from, do you know anything about it?
Yeah, Gene touched bases with me a little bit before he went on vacation. So I know that he's been working with the community, the neighborhood board, and also with HCC. We do have our drainage engineer. He goes up and he does some inspections. I believe that HCC did do some clearing of some of the vegetation there. So there is some progress. So I'm not completely involved with that issue, but you know, I can give you
Why don't
my
we
card.
follow up? Why don't you get his contact?
Yeah,
We'll,
yeah.
We will follow up on this. I'm going to find out about the money too. First, I want to find out if the city really gave $1 million and when they did that, because that's the first I've heard of that, okay?
because
You-
the community has done a lot. We had 150, we did 5 cleanups so far from last year. 150 people show up at each cleanup. This is the community.
Yeah.
My neighborhood board, we're using our own money. We're running out of finances. Some of the politicians got
So
some
let's
of
see
the
if we
people
can
to
help
donate.
David. I'm serious. I just, you know, we can't do it here right now. So I said earlier tonight,
Okay.
we will follow up. I promise you, Warren Mamazuka he will follow up with you.
Second question.
Second one.
From Honolulu to Aiea, the refuse convenience centers, there's none that takes green waste. You have to go to Kailua and Waipahu. Can the convenience center on Middle Street have 2 days where the community can take their green waste instead of traveling to the windward side and to Waipahu?
Okay, good question, Dave. We'll actually, I'll let Dr. Roger Babcock, who's in charge of environmental services, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for that question. We can look into it. I think, you know, basically the issue is we don't have space there for green waste, you know, to take care of green waste, to accept it and put it in a bin or something. We do accept it at certain other locations. And then the main outlet, though, is for folks to take it up to Wahiawa to Hawaiian Earth Recycling. And that's the compost facility where all the green waste goes. So we do do curbside collection with the green carts for single-family residential. Folks that are on commercial collection routes generally don't have that service.
Yeah, but we're also talking about, we're going to start doing composting in the future, mixing food waste with green waste and doubling up on the amount of pickups. We're just being held up on the facility right now and what's compostable and what's not compostable. Is that not true?
That's correct. So we'll be starting to.
I love it when he says that's correct, because he's a very smart guy. Okay.
So we're
No,
going
this
to
is-
collect. We're going to collect. Be collecting food waste about a year from now. That'll start
Yep.
because the facility is under construction, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
But we're additional collection is still something being discussed. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but, yeah,
Thanks.
oh, yeah, what we're gonna do on that. Okay, sir. You were here last time, or last week.
I was.
But
Michael
we-
Assam, I live in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
And I want to thank all of you for being here tonight.
Thank you,
Now,
sir.
I'm kind of late. I wanted to get up here to talk about the homeless situation. You mentioned only 9,000, but they're creating a lot of negative economic impact.
We know that.
I look at downtown Honolulu, and we've lost Walmart, Long's, Ross's, and a bunch of restaurants because they couldn't stop these guys from shoplifting.
Right.
And yet, we have resources sitting there unused that could be used to house these people sitting right here, right off Westlock. We have ships that these homeless could not get off, and we process them there if they're caught stealing, and then they have to be processed off those ships in a way that we know that they've gone through some training so that they won't affect the economic activity in our
Well, you know,
towns.
the loss of Walmart, which has now been converted to a different kind of a facility in downtown, we're very aware of. Okay, and we've done a lot to clean up downtown Chinatown, not only with the rest, but even on the streets. And since you live out here, I don't know how frequent you go down there.
We see
you
a
could talk to the merchants, they'll tell you things are really dramatically different. Not totally fixed yet, but I can tell you with certainty, dramatically different.
But
Okay.
people are upset that they've lost so much retail business.
We understand that, and that was a concern, and with the shoplifting and the crazy laws that were going on. And recently, as I alluded to earlier, we've got some favorable legal leverage, if you will, with the Supreme Court and trespass and violation and so on. But anyway, be that as it may, we really can't pick them up and go lock them up, okay?
Well,
And stick
we're
them
gonna-
on a
we're gonna
ship
put 'em on a
and not
farm,
let them
though.
back off. You know, I mean, you know, all of these things, as we've said a couple of times, Anton said it as well, are very complex, and there's legalities and stuff like that. You know, these are people, everybody has a story, and I said, we're trying to do it humanely, at the same time, zero tolerance. We're making progress. We are already using some existing facilities. Evil Ace Center is a good example. It's the largest acquisition in the history of the city. We did it 2 years ago. Ultimately, in a couple of years, we're knocking it down, and we're going to be building incredible mixed-use housing there, right there. But in the interim, we're using that warehouse for 100 beds inside and other facilities like that. We bought the First Hawaiian Bank building, the old one on North King Street. We have 62 beds there. That concept you're talking about, but it has to be done kind of on a voluntary basis, although what Anton said about the involuntary pickups, those are the people that you see out there, out of their minds, lost, suffering, on a side. That kind of stuff we can do, and we're doing more of that. Okay? Thank you. I appreciate you. Look, we are frustrated by it too. We understand it. How you doing? I remember you. We met tonight.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Aiden Downs. I'm currently enrolled in high school. I wanted to talk about, so right now, my way to get to school, to and from, is riding a Suron e-bike. I wanted to talk about the current regulations and the rules set upon them. I understand why the rules were set on them. I'm just wondering if the age requirement for acquiring a motorcycle permit is going to go down, because I have a lot of friends and I know a lot of people that are going to be getting rid of these, getting rid of their bikes, getting rid of their electric
How
off-road
old,
vehicles.
Aiden, how old would you like to see the motorcycle license go down to?
I wouldn't say too low, like probably, I think California's is like 15 and a half for acquiring a permit.
That's crazy.
I know. Like 15 and a half, 16.
That's absolutely, that's not going to happen, Chief. That's not going to happen. Okay. What age? I'm serious. We have. Somebody's talking tonight. A couple of people frustrated about ambient noise. Right? Very loud, very real, very distracting, very annoying. All right.
Yeah.
E-bikes has become another nuisance with young people, and actually, quite honestly, the responsibility of it, which are dangerous. Some of these things go 40 miles an hour, and people are driving them underage, and they're doing it irresponsible. We put laws in, they got to wear helmets, they don't, the cops pull them over. you know?
I understand why
So
the rules are set on.
Riding a motorcycle is serious business.
That's why I was like, if there's like lowering the age limit for classes, lowering the age limit for like motorcycle classes, how to properly use
teaching.
them.
That's
teaching,
different.
teaching and acquiring a permit.
I'm not in charge of the curriculum at the DOE. You guys told me your teachers here tonight, you're taking classes on that. I don't even think there should be any age on that. I think once somebody has an interest in it, should be, as far as education, the more education, the better. But the last thing we're ever going to do is put a 15-and-a-half-year-old on a motorcycle that can go 60 miles an hour, okay?
No, that's fair. It's just there's a lot of people that I know and a lot of students that are in the same situation as me who are considering selling them, and they don't really have another way to get to school besides either walking or taking the city bus.
Well, but with all due respect, you're in your junior year now?
Junior.
There have been other people that have gone to Radford High School, somehow found a way to get here. I mean, for a long time, there's got to be ways to get here other than having a motorcycle. I'm not discounting it, but high school kids at that age, I think it's 18 right now for a motorcycle. I don't see it getting lower than that. I really don't.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So, hope that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I completely understand the rules. I completely understand why the rules were set in place, and I'm not challenging that. I was just wondering if it was going to be any change to the requirements.
I don't think so. And I think if we put it on a charter for a vote with the public, the general public, most people who vote are parents of kids, that would never get passed. As it is, it's of concern now. The kids have vehicles that go very fast, can easily get them killed, and they're abusing them at younger ages as it is with the e-bikes. Okay? All right, thank you. Yeah.
That is true. Yeah.
No, Dave said they pose a real dangerous threat. We know that, Dave. They ride in groups. It's become. That's why I gave Aiden the answer I get. We're already. If we hadn't had the e-bikes, that concept that you're putting out there might be worth some discussion. E-bikes have changed the attitude. They're silent, but they're not safe. They go fast. I rode one. Augie Telber and I went out and took one for rides. I don't know how he talked me into it, but I wanted to see what it was like as an old guy. I wanted to see what's going on, okay? And we drove it for quite a while. We went for a couple of hours. And you can get in a lot of trouble in one of those, okay? Takes a lot of decision, a lot of judgment, and younger people aren't quite there yet. You can really, they're fast. No, I know, can't be. Anyway, Aiden, I hope that helps.
It does.
Thank you for your interest, though.
Of course.
All right. Sir.
Good evening, Mayor Blangiardi. This question is directed towards our new Director of Homeless Solutions, Roy Miyahara.
You got him right here, Roy. I like the fact you know his name. This is good.
Yes, and we both share sort of a history in California. I've been here about a year in the state of Hawaii. Actually went to high school around Torrance. So the Tyra family in 1977, King's Hawaiian Bakery. I wanted to say that I very much know a lot about homelessness. Going to Walt Disney Concert Hall, going towards Chinatown, Little Tokyo, you always pass by the world's largest homeless encampment, which is Skid Row. This is sort of a broad question about the economy in terms of the cost of living. I brought a receipt here. So when I was 16 and I got my driver's license, I actually went to L&L Hawaiian Barbecue. And food there was cheap, it was great. And the cost at Subway for a footlong was $5 as a promotion, ended in 2014. The cost of a 6-inch Italian Ultimate BMT, the biggest, meatiest, tastiest sub, is now $9.79 for a 6-inch.
Right. And I think the last time you got up at the microphone, a couple of town halls ago, we had the same conversation, right? So you're back here tonight. So what's the question?
So in terms of our vulnerable population, 5% of the homeless population are veterans.
Yes.
So this is to Roy and to yourself, Mayor.
Okay, no,
is
Roy.
what can we do? What can we do to sort of take one step back before, at least as a former licensed high school teacher, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yep.
And for a lot of you who work in public policy, sociology, criminology, there's a theory called broken windows theory, where if we don't stop the problem and the root cause, more serious crimes will sort of exacerbate.
I'll let Roy take a step. I'll maybe just say as a preface, cost of living is a really big issue with us. And we have to look at different things we can do to affect the cost of living. Can't really affect the retail outlets, but there are other things that we can do. But go ahead, Roy. The question, I guess, is how are you going to get that submarine sandwich down to $4 so you can afford it?
Yeah, I don't masquerade as an economist. Sir, your name again was?
Raymondson, active duty, United States Air Force.
Raymond, thank you very much for your question. And I, too, am from the South Bay, lived in Torrance, know the trappings of LBC and how bad it could be in Skid Row, Los Angeles. Just for some context here, born and raised in Hawaii, lived in the mainland for about 35 years, but did experience a lot of what's going on in the mainland, mainly the West Coast. San Francisco, how it's gone downhill and maybe starting to come back a little bit. Los Angeles, Oakland, you name it, some of those areas are very challenged. And that might impact prices besides all the other economic factors. However, back to your question about how we serve our VA, how we serve our veterans. I have found the last 90 days in my stint here that the VA is one of the strongest agencies to help those who have those experiences in servicing our country. They have a wide network, broad network, that go down to specifics as to where they can bed their veterans. They have many, many treatment centers that handle the substance use disorders, the mental illness disorders, and so on and so forth, that some cities don't have. We want to get there, of course. But I can tell you the United States government has a very robust, comprehensive type of treatment center that can help those who are in need. If you would like.
Let me just embellish a little bit in a sense, because it's hard to answer your question. You know, what you see behind us is the leadership team. You see how multifaceted the city is, but we're not in any direct position to impact inflation. We can certainly help with creating housing that costs less to maybe give people more spending power. We can certainly work with organizations like the VA, different things that we do. We can certainly help with job creation, getting people jobs, helping small businesses. Our Office of Economic Revitalization does a lot of work with that, entrepreneurs, grant writing, things like that. But to your specific question on what it costs now, that seems to be the world we're in. So we're trying to do as much as we can on the things that we can control. And that's not passing the buck, but we just can't control that. I wish I could give you a simple answer. But Roy, I appreciate what you said. Anton, you want to add anything?
Within that talk that you just gave, you talked about veterans, right? And, you know, one of the things I would ask is stay current with me. And what that means is, you know, when you tell me that there's homeless somewhere and you say it's always been a problem, okay, that's good. But you tell me there's 50 people down there and then I go look and there's 10, we're not having a current conversation. So all I ask is stay current. 2 years ago, when I started working with the groups that oversaw the veteran homelessness, we had over 330 veterans that we knew about on the island. We're down to just a little over 100 now, about 108, which is really fantastic. Many of those are really troubled, and it's really hard to get them there, but I have housing vouchers for veterans available. So if the VA can work with them and get them engaged, I have vouchers for them. And so if you happen to have a veteran in your family, you know somebody, get them engaged with the VA. I need their approval to be able to give them a voucher. But I think as Americans, we can be very proud of the focus that we've had and the mayor's had to take that number in just a couple years. It was well over 300, now down to 108, and we almost know every name of every person. And that's what we're working with. Stay current with us, and we'll work with you.
Thank you, Anton. I appreciate that. Sir.
James Sung.
Hi, James.
Bouncing off of his conversation. Pre-pandemic number, cost of living pre-pandemic was 180% more cost of good in Hawaii than on the mainland. 90% of it is the state's fault. The rest of it is the city and counties.
Well, fault is an interesting word.
I'm gonna
Okay,
say-
I mean,
so-
help me understand why you think it's our fault.
Okay, so I understand. A lot of it is rules and regulations. That's one thing. But
Well, I'm not even sure of that. I mean, you talk about, because I want to know fault. Because if it's rules and regulations, then we're making bad rules and regulations. To my knowledge, we've made none that drives up the cost of living.
So
So
a lot
how do
of
you
it is-
see it?
So a lot of it is permitting, but I'm going to digress from putting fault. I want solutions, and that's what you want too. Am I correct?
Yep.
Okay. Dr. Babcock, it's up to you now. I gave a proposal to Dr. Babcock. I don't know, how long ago was this? My proposal, he is raising the cost of sewer fees. Nothing's wrong with that. Thank you for doing what you do. But my proposal was, how can he cut the cost of his department by $40 million? That's what I gave him a proposal of. And overall, I think if we really look into it, we could save just in his department $100 million, even bouncing off of what Ben does here. Ben, right? Climate guy? So off of his climate revitalization, I call it sustainability. So how do we increase and utilize the things that we have here in Hawaii, where we're not importing more things, but utilizing our resources? Okay. Dr. Babcock, I gave a proposal to you. I'm not sure how much you even looked at it. And is it possible for us to save that $40 million, even $60 million, or even that $100 million if we go the route that I suggested? Thank you.
Yeah, so it's a very technical issue about wastewater treatment. So I'll be happy to talk to you about more about that. Just so you know, we have a large system to take care of sewage. We have collection system, pipes, pump stations, and wastewater treatment plants. There's a lot of regulations associated with all of those activities. It takes a lot of people, a lot of resources, a lot of technology to do all those things and meet all of the federal and state requirements. So we do the things in the most efficient way that we can. We're not 100% efficient or 100% sustainable. We do use a lot of electricity, a lot of other, resources, as you know. It's an expensive operation. We do continuously try to look and do the most sustainable things that we can, but we oftentimes don't have opportunity to drastically change a lot of infrastructure that's in place already. We need to mostly maintain those and upgrade as much as we can. And whenever we do upgrades, we try to do it, as much energy efficiency as we can. But happy to talk to you more individually.
Yeah, James,
about
we'll talk
your
off camera,
proposal.
but we actually did look at your proposal. And I remember you very clearly. And I remember, and I don't want to get into the critique of your work, so we'll have that discussion offline, but it was looked at, okay? Also, we're really pleased tonight. We have Dawn Takeuchi Rapuna, our director for DPP, and her deputy, Brian Gallagher. You're absolutely right that the dysfunction of DPP, which had been broken for decades, was a real cost killer, okay? Time is money, whether it's big development or homeowners or whatever. We've come light years, and if somebody wants to ask a question about DPP, I'm sure Dawn will come up here. But if there's something that I'm really proud of, I was told running for mayor that was the holy grail. It would never happen. You'll never fix it. It is so broken. We were in office 4 months in the middle of the pandemic, and the feds came in and arrested 6 people, and the first one that went to jail was a 72-year-old grandmother. There was not only bad management and lack of investment in people, technology, et cetera, but there was other elements that really made it very compromising, not the least of which was grossly understaffed, lacking really good leadership. All of that has changed, all of it, in just a little bit more than 4 years. And it's been a consistent effort, and we are taking stuff if I can just say this, and Dawn's ready to come up and say anything you want to hear specific for anybody. I made a statement in this year's State of the City on March 18th. We're not interested in cleaning up just the backlog, which we've done through the use of AI and other technology. We're interested in creating the ability to get a permit here in Hawaii as fast as anywhere in the country, and we are going to achieve that, and we'll achieve that by the end of this year. That's how far we've come. So in your proposal that you gave us, And again, I don't want to do a public critique. Some of the dots didn't connect, but we'll be happy to sit down with you in private and go through that and afford you that opportunity to sell us that proposal, at least that way, okay?
I do want to say, since you took office, a lot has changed for the better. I definitely want to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I understand.
It's these people.
Yeah.
I told my team the night we won in the primary, I ran, we won. Okay? I ran, we won. It's these people. They do the work, they report to Michael, but we're on top of all the tough problems. And I'll tell you, these are not easy. Look what we talked about tonight. Homelessness. We haven't even got into housing right now. DPP. Public safety. You know, there's just the list, the rail. The rail couldn't have been any more dysfunctional when we started in office. Okay, so we're making a lot of progress. It takes time. I learned an expression, these guys are gonna laugh because they've heard me say it so many times, from a guy named Mike Bloomberg, former mayor of New York. He says, Mayor, but it's true for all of us, the days are long, the years are short. And the expectations out there of the public is you can just pull these rabbits out of a hat. Let me tell you, the stuff we're doing hasn't been done in decades, and we're making great headway.
Well, thank you for your service, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you, James. Yes, ma'am. Well, you're looking very official. You get your computer and your tab.
I'm a little short here, so I'll have to lower it. So, mahalo and aloha to everyone that's here for your cabinet. I have interacted with many of your cabinet members who are very receptive to comments.
Who are you?
Okay, I was going to do that next.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Chandra Kanemaru, and I'm with the Neighborhood Board 18, which is Salt Lake, which Brian Gallagher is a very good representative that attends our meetings and gives us great, great feedback. I'd like to recognize Cynthia Thielen. Also, you know, she's helped us with permitting for our Salt Lake community projects. And, you know, it's really wonderful to have the support of DFM also with our Salt Lake Waterway. Now, my question, though, for tonight is the housing issue. And with DPP, right now we have like 400 days before a permit gets authorized. How much is it?
400 days? What type of permit?
Well, a building permit.
It's not 400 days.
Okay, so what is it?
It's definitely not 400 days.
Okay,
and
but
it's not, every permit is different.
Okay.
How each permit is treated is different because it's not just with DPP. It's
Okay.
a back and forth with the applicant.
With other departments?
No, not just other departments, but the applicant. So we take in the plans, we review it, we say this is not correct, this is not correct. It goes back to the applicant, they make corrections, and maybe they don't. And it comes back to us again, and then we have to say, you got to still make these corrections. So that is not just DPP.
Okay.
At this point, because we have worked very hard on our backlog, and we're able to do a review in a much shorter time than before, but now you got to look at the applicant side. Are they holding on to it? Are they not making corrections?
Okay.
Are they increasing the number of review cycles? It is not 400 days. It's
Okay.
definitely not 400 days
Okay.
on DPP side. So for residential, it's on average about 2 weeks for our residential review. And if it goes back to the applicant, it might be even longer because they're not answering, or it might not be good plans. On the commercial side, it is not, it's 2 months for just our code review.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted a little bit of clarification because, you know, I know that they're online applicants, right, or applications. They're done online.
There's some instant online, like solar for residential.
Okay, so it's not for everything? It's not blanket, all online?
No, so the more intricate reviews, like single family and commercial, they are submitted through electronic plans, but they require the review of our people, our reviewers.
So are they queued by AI as to how it's reviewed? At least, you know, there's like a queue where, you know, when I did resumes, there's a queue that kind of reviews and says, oh, okay, this person qualifies in these sections. And, you know, there should be like an AI, maybe some kind of, I don't want to tell
So what we're
the tech
doing
department.
is, so we have used AI in the past, a bot, in order to pre-screen the plans. And at this point, we are working with another AI called CivCheck, and they're going to help with applicants providing better quality plans that meet all the requirements so it won't go through so many reviews. We're helping the applicants do a better job of giving us plans that meet code so that it'll be faster.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'd like to just recognize the climate change. We had a workshop, and those community workshops are excellent because it lets us get some feedback into your offices. The stormwater advisory group, the wastewater advisory group, those I have participated in, and I must say, Mayor, they're great where we get to participate in that process. Not only being on the neighborhood board, but I just wanted to recognize all of your cabinet and the departments because it's very receptive. My next question, one more, real small. Okay, is there any department that I could tap into? I hate to use the word tap into, that doesn't sound too good, yeah. But a resource that we could find out more about water testing, aside from, it's not drinking water, but it's the stream and, DFM.
Ernie, is that them, DFM? Water, she's asking about water testing, streams and stuff like that.
Yeah, Mayor, we take care of that.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
because
water quality.
Yeah, I know that. I've worked with Gino Bono, and the thing too is I tried contacting Department of Health and DLNR, and of course that's the state side. But anyway, got no help at all. We asked them to come to our meetings and all of that, and they were very non-receptive. Jean has been very instrumental, and we do have, the drainage engineer coming, and we do also have Kyle Tokuda also helping us. So Rich is really excellent.
You've already tapped into everything.
Have I?
Yeah, you're going to litany of the whole team over here.
Are you sure?
I don't know. I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
anyway, thank you very much, everyone.
Okay.
You folks all do an excellent job as
Thank
civil
you.
servants.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I want to, and then I just want to give you a perspective. Larry came up here tonight and kind of challenged us about technology. Let me give you just a couple of quick perspectives on our embrace of technology. First of all, when we put in our new data center in our first year, we took computers out of the Farsi building from the 70s and the 80s, and software programs as well. And, and that relates to the workforce and the productivity. That was that. DPP, we just spent, it took us, we're problem solvers, and in order to solve a problem, you got to understand it, then you develop a solution, you make decisions. That takes a while to really get that. And it took us a while to decide what software system. It's actually multiple software systems related to DPP. So what Don didn't say is we'll be ready by next month. It's taken 18 months to integrate this software system called Clarity. Okay? That is a state-of-the-art, the most modern thing that's being used, and it replaced a system called Posse. Posse's system was put in 1998. It sounds a lot newer than the 70s and 80s. But 1998, to give you a perspective, that's why I pull up my iPhone, was 9 years before the iPhone. Now think about how your life has changed since 2007, over the last 18 years with this device. And the system we were using just a few years ago, and still recently until we got through this 18-month integration, was that. CivCheck she just talked about, which will be ready probably by the fall, is unbelievable. Okay, as far as people will know where their plans are, it will talk to you. You don't have, it's going to save us wear and tear. We can expedite getting better plans. Really modern, the very best there is. The AI systems we're using, you heard Don allude to it, that when we came in, just the pre-screen backlog, going back to the man that said time is money, the pre-screen backlog alone was a minimum of 6 months. Just to get through the pre-screen, to get in queue, with some 4,000 applications, okay? That doesn't exist today. All of that got cleaned up. It's now, 2 or 3 days, I guess, on most occasions, okay? Just to get through that. And so I go on, but all of these things take time to implement, take time to decide what's the best solution, take time to integrate, bring a workforce along. We're getting 18,000 applications a year. And I didn't even mention our use of AI for reading codes. The codes alone in DPP have become much more complicated. If I put it on a matrix, you'd see in the last decade, used to be like this, it's like that. The city had 2 mechanical engineers and 2 electrical engineers responsible for nearly 18,000 applications a year with complicated codes. Now, we're hiring a whole lot more engineers. We've been doing that. Mike has done a great job of changing the pay scales. It's hard to find a good engineer, but we're doing that, and we're embracing all of that technology. So when I tell you, we're gonna have the capability, the days of the 400 days are gonna be gone. I'm not saying that didn't exist with somebody somewhere, but as Don said, the other thing that I learned as mayor coming in, and you all know this, anybody who's worked with computers, garbage in, garbage out, all of the blame on DPP presupposed that everybody was doing something perfect out there. You'd be surprised how many amateur plans get submitted, even by paid professionals, that just, they're not gonna work. And our team had to take on all that responsibility. So, you know, the problem was for a long time it couldn't defend itself. And so it became the whipping boy, just like the rail, because it couldn't defend itself, okay? Now the stuff we're doing speaks for itself, okay? So I just want you folks to know that, because we made the proper investments in people, technology, decision-making. All right, next, sir, yeah, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chantel Koa.
Hello, Chantel.
Hi, and it's my pleasure to be here in the front of you, the panel. So I'm here because before September 2021, my nephew was bullied, and which led to his death. And his death, when he died in September 2021, was stated that he didn't have any trauma. However, we do have pictures, and I don't want to show this to everybody. This is my nephew. And this pictures definitely shows that there's trauma. And we do have, there have been new evidence regarding this case, regarding my nephew's case. His name is Alika. And regarding his case, we used to call him Eisen. And we are asking that his case be reopened to be investigated, because we do have new evidence in this.
We can have that discussion online. I'm familiar with this case.
Okay.
I'm familiar with the coroner's report, not once but twice, and all the work that went into it. But I think in the spirit of privacy, you don't even want to show this picture. Let's have this conversation.
Yes.
We only got about 20 minutes left tonight, and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
From a legal standpoint, I don't know, but let's have a very private conversation privately.
Understood, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
And thank you again, Andy, for speaking with me.
All right, Chantel, thank you.
Thank you.
Is Ikaika Hasi in the house? There he is. I just saw him walk in. There he is. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Hello. Sorry. Aloha. My name is Gino Dayton. I represent Keolo Kekai Canoe Club. We're a youth program that takes care of this area. We recruit all our kids from this area. I'm a resident owner across the street, and I also work for this school. My question goes to Parks and Recs. So when we had our conversation in our meeting about the rebuilding and remodeling of Kehi Lagoon, and this is all about Kehi Lagoon, we were very excited. And then when we came in to the lagoon one day, there was work being done. So what has happened was there's these stone pillars that run alongside the road at the backside of Kehi Lagoon towards the waterfront. And Kehi Lagoon is a heavy use park now. It's very heavily used. And we like that because then our city money and funds is going to what it's for. We have flag football, we have tackle football, we have a soccer team, we have a baseball, girls baseball team down there, and then we have like 8 canoe clubs that all utilize Kehi Lagoon. When we came in and they started doing work, we got excited because yes, they're gonna start doing work here and start maintaining the park. What they did was they removed all the stones and the wooden pillars that guide the roadway, and they put in a chain, they installed poles with chains that went all the way around. But what they did was they moved the original position from where those stones were out 2 feet into the road. So when you park in Kehi Lagoon on the waterfront, there's all these stalls, and then you can also utilize parallel parking on the side next to the field. That can no longer happen now because they moved 2 feet into the road. Everybody who parks along the chains turns that 2-way road into a 1-way. And it's really, really, really congested. My question was, when you guys decided to do that, because that wasn't part of the conversation we had about the remodeling of Key Lagoon or the work that was being done, when you guys decided to implement that, was there any community input that we could offer?
So let me go back and take a look at what that project was, because I'm not familiar with that one. I know that we have, in a lot of our parks, we've had put in posts and chains to stop people from driving across the lawns and into beach areas. So we've done this in a series of parks. I'm not familiar with where we located it on this one, so I'll go back and take a look at that. You are right, Kalihi Lagoon, we went back and took a look at how many activities we permit there a month, and we're issuing over 250 permits in a single month just for that one park. There's so many activities that go on there. So a lot of times we have to protect people from driving across the grass because it's an area where there's a lot of youth, and we don't want the kids to accidentally get hit by cars. But we certainly shouldn't be doing that where we're taking away parking, because we know parking is a real need. So I'll look into the location for that. We did go forward, though. We also have repaired the roofs for the Halawa and the judges' stand, and then we're taking a look at some of the other improvements that we worked with you on. Okra, the canoe clubs, they actually did a great job. They came in, they worked together for all of the canoe clubs in all of the parks and gave us a very thick list of improvements that they wanted done. So we worked with what ones that our department can do in-house, and we've started checking those off as much as we can. And then some of them are going to be larger capital improvement projects. The lights at that park is going to be one that would have to be a bigger project. So we're checking off the list of the ones that we can do in-house. And we'll come back and talk with you about, I think, like the location of the shower.
So it did look good. It does look good. The improvement of putting the chains, yes, it works so people don't drive on it and stuff like that. But you took away over 100 stalls.
Let me go back and take a look at that, because we should not have been removing parking
on
stalls.
June 1st, 5,000 paddlers will be descending on this park.
Okay.
And we park on the grass. We're allowed, we pay permits to park on the grass. But with those 100 stalls missing, we're gonna be needing more parking. And the rail came through, so I didn't understand that part. When the rail came through, they took away stalls. But when they had that construction in the beginning, where they now turned it back into what it was, that could have been utilized as parking, they didn't. And then it's a flood zone, because when the high tide comes in, and everybody knows about the Mapunapuna tide, it actually comes into the park, where all that grassy area supposedly supposed to be.
Yeah, so that area, they did have to restore all of the parking after they had used that for a staging area for rails. So they did rebuild that. They also redid the courts there, which has the pickleball. We did not add parking in the grassy area there for a couple reasons. First of all, they didn't have to build new parking. That wasn't part of the deal. But ultimately, we need to expand pickleballs, so they have courts, kind of like Central Oahu Regional Park has 20 tennis courts, so you can have the large tournaments and the events there. So we've identified Kalihi Lagoon. We have 10 pickleball courts there now, and we'd like to double that, so they have, their own version, like tennis has. So that area is going to have to address the flood challenges, because like you said, during the king tides, it backs up. And so we're working with state parks that owns the property that the DAV is on, and that maybe there could be a project, because a lot of the water is coming in through that area.
Yeah, so, and one more concern so there is a fire lane, an emergency lane, it's all red curb. They put chains over there so nobody can park over there, which is good. But because of the decrease, bringing the chains in more towards the road, I can't turn around a trailer with canoes at the cul-de-sac towards the end. So if I can't do that, a fire truck will not be able to do that. We don't see a fire truck turning around and making a U-turn to come back out. So that, I think, is a big issue. And I asked the fire chief or the assistant Maybe you should take one of your fire trucks over there and try to see if you can make a U-turn in the back.
No, I think this
I
is
think
great
your
input.
ladder
Okay.
would not happen.
I promise you, we'll check out all of that. And the regatta you're talking about on June 1st, I went to last year. It's fantastic.
I still support you.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. Sir.
Yes, good evening. First of all, I'd like to have two quick questions.
And your name is?
Dan Smith. I'm also a member of the Pearl City Neighborhood Board.
Dan.
Larry's the leader there. I want to thank the bus people for their filling in where the DOE couldn't provide school buses, but I do ask for a stronger coordination for, so that the schedules line up, and also it would be great if we had a replacement for the 73 line that went to the Nakasone Center, you know, right? You know, it's not, you know, it would be great to have service actually up into the campus. So I'll talk with you later. Also, in terms of recreation, it would be great if one or more of the Pearl City pools had some weekend and evening hours for those of us who work more or less 9 to 5. So that I mean, reduce some of the weekday hours,
okay,
and put them on the weekend or the evening.
So John, you want to handle the bus, and Laura, you want to handle the pool. Go ahead. I'll give Laura my microphone.
Okay.
You give it to John. You can do the bus. 2 questions. 3 questions.
So we have looked at, in the past, at a routing that gets the students closer to Pearl City, and I think we're at the point where if we do want that, we would want to come before the neighborhood board and propose some separate solutions. I know that historically over the last 30 years, there has been a lot of disagreement in the Pearl City neighborhood about where the appropriate pickup should be for the high school. And we're also faced with some difficulty in restoring service up into the Pearl City Cultural Center Port Cochere. So I can catch up with you more specifically on some of those issues, and maybe we can come back to the neighborhood board and have a larger discussion about access to Pearl City High School.
Yes, that would be good, because we have submitted, you know, specific proposals. So we have the dialogue, but also you guys can lean on DOE a little bit sometimes too. You know, come to the party. So thank you.
And I do want to point out that DOE has been a good partner, and we are coordinated with their school bus and transportation coordinator. We know her very well. Her name is Megan Omura, and so we do try to coordinate our services and service approach. But I'm really glad to come back to the neighborhood board and have another discussion about that.
Okay, very good, thank you.
And then on the pools, we know that the pool and access to the pool is a huge issue for many people. I think it's the second highest request we get. You used to be number 1, but you got unseated by the pickleball players. But the challenge we have is we don't have enough lifeguards. It used to be like the cool place for kids to work, and I guess it's less cool now than it used to be. If you know people that want to lifeguard, we are looking to recruit. We have full-time jobs with career advancement opportunities, but we also can hire people on contract part-time. So it works really well for people who may want to come out of retirement for a bit, or high school kids, or people that have, you know, college kids or elsewise. We also help run the classes to get people certified for lifeguards, and we've bumped up the pay. So if we can get more positions filled, we can extend the hours, and we'll go back and I'll take a look at the hours that we currently have and see if there's a balance, because I know as a working person, it's important to have the evenings and weekends, but we also have a lot of people that are retired that are just die-hard swimmers during the week too, so it's a real high demand. But we'll go back and look and see if we can adjust.
Okay, I'll give you my card after that.
If you want to apply for a job, we'll take it.
I think you'd make a very handsome lifeguard, actually.
No, Boy Scouts. I was an
yeah.
aquatics instructor.
There you go. You're hired. But can you just hold off for 1 second? I know you got 2 less. I promise we'll get to you. But I want to do something just for your edification benefit, I've never not done this, but we asked Chief to come tonight to give an update on what we thought would be certain question regarding how our year started out for all of us, given Aliamanu. And so I thought we'd have our fire chief here, just give you a little update on what's happening there. Just a couple of minutes, Chief, if you don't mind, on where the fire department is, what we're doing in the area of prevention, what's possible, and I promise you we'll get right to you.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Reed Yoshida again, Assistant Chief in the Honolulu Fire Department. So, you know, that tragic event on the fireworks that happened in January of this year, horrific. Our hearts still go out to the families. I'd like to thank the HPD and EMS that helped support at that event. Since then, House Bill 1483 passed through legislation. I believe it's awaiting signature. And just to kind of summarize it, basically, that bill provides more restrictions, penalties, and on the permitting side, there's a new limit that limits consumer fireworks to 50 permits. So we've been working closely with the Department of Law Enforcement. They have a task group, and we've shared information to better find out who's bringing in things illegally and how we can support that. The Honolulu Fire Department still very strongly supports the ban for illegal fireworks. It's not only dangerous for those that are using it, but on the transportation and the storage of it. So we're continued efforts, we continued stance to protect everybody in the community.
Thank you, Chief. Ma'am, thank you.
Aloha and mahalo, everyone. And you've got a very impressive team, by the way, but they must be tired, so I'll try to make this
It's been a long day.
Yeah, and you look tired. Okay.
It's the second time I heard that today. I don't feel tired, okay? But thank you. I'll take that again.
So I am a shareholder at Makalapa Manor, which is a co-op.
Okay.
And I have a question. It's 122 units of people who were formerly displaced with the building from Halawa Housing for the building of the stadium. And so Makalapa Manor was built on a HUD loan, a HUD-sponsored loan, and that was completed payment in 1990, and then it converted to a co-op. We have about 70% kupuna, who are young age, 60s, 70s, 80s like myself, and 90 and
you look great.
Thank you.
You do.
That happens because you're vegan and you exercise.
Okay.
So there's a lot of kupuna there. And the income is low to low moderate. Yeah. Most of our people are high school educated and not above. About a year and a half ago, without the approval or the knowledge of the shareholders who bought into our units after it converted to a co-op, the board approached the city, made an offer to the city to have the city buy our property because of the expansion with the stadium. And we're told currently that the going rate for each unit is $250,000 being offered by the city. Now that's 122 units. $250,000. We have one bedroom and two bedroom apartments, and the condos are 3 bedrooms up to 5.
Okay, so what is the question specifically?
Okay,
Because I want to be
so
sure
I'm just giving you the
I want to be
background.
sure we get the answer, because we're on TV, and we're only on TV for 5
So
more
I'm
minutes.
giving you the background.
Okay.
So my question is, and Mr. Auger stated that one of his responsibilities is accelerating affordable housing. My question is this acceleration at the expense, again, of displacing people? especially our kupuna, who cannot afford going elsewhere. You know, this is affordable housing.
Yes.
This is affordable housing. Are we going to get displaced again and have to go elsewhere?
You
Yeah,
want
it's open. Hi, I'm Kevin Auger. I'm the Director Designate of the Department of Housing and Land Development.
Right.
We haven't met. I've been to Makalapa Manor now to meet with the folks up there probably 7 times. In fact, last week I met with about over 100 residents for almost 4 hours. And we
That's
talked
because
through
I
this.
take my mo'opuna to
Yeah.
hula.
So just a couple of facts that I think that we should clarify. First of all, the folks at Makalapa reached out to the city. They addressed an email to the mayor seeking his help because the community was concerned that it had not reserved appropriate amounts of money to pay for improvements on the property and that they were going to go bankrupt. Our response to that, and we've not met, so I've had these conversations. Our response to that was to do research around Makalapa Manor. And in fact, it was developed 50 years ago. It was developed with a HUD 231 loan. That 231 loan had matured. And our first response to the residents was, you've got a lot of equity in this property. You are the masters of your own destiny. You can do what you like. And your options would be, the one thing that we suggested was you could just simply refinance. You go out and get a new loan, pay for the capital improvements, and continue to move forward. Another option would be to sell the property. You could sell the property to a developer or somebody who has an interest in developing there. It seemed like that option was not particularly desirable because there are people there that are now in their 70s that bought into the property when they were in their 20s, and they would want an opportunity to continue to remain. So we had a conversation with the board and shared it with the shareholders last week about an optional third way, which would be to potentially acquire the property, allowing all the residents to remain in the property so we weren't displacing folks, and have the city have an opportunity to potentially redevelop that site in 15 years or so when the rail would be going through, because it's 6 acres of land that could accommodate not just 120 units, but 1,500 units. And that's an option. And what we made very clear last night when we spoke to the residents was, this is your choice. I made very clear, the first thing I said when I got to the meeting was, I'm not here to sell you anything. I don't know you, you don't know me. This is an opportunity to talk about your options. So we're not suggesting, recommending, forcing, or requiring anyone to do anything. We're just simply trying to help create options for the community. It's a beautiful community. It should be preserved. If you look at the difference between Pu'uwaimomi, which is right across the street, which is a public housing property, and your community, which is an equity cooperative property, it's day and night.
So
Thanks,
we have to wrap up. We can continue this off as soon as we finish because we're going to sign off of TV. I want to thank the audience for being here tonight. Thank you for your caring and love of community and place that you showed up tonight. I know, Les, you have a question. We can talk to you after we're done. We're going off the air right now, sir.
I'm going to be really fast. I want to thank Mike. I was going to ask some questions about some challenges that I had at the E. Smith farm. I do some Hawaiian gardening there, but he's going to follow up with some dialogue. And the last one I want to ask you is about your participation with the city, with that beautiful stadium. How are you guys going to come together?
I've got none on that. I wish I had some, but I have none right now.
Thank you,
Let
Rick.
me just, Andrew, we're signing off. So I want to thank the audience. Yeah, but I got to sign off, then you can ask the question afterwards, but we have to sign off. You know, I can't stop the clock. This is live TV. Let me just say one thing, thanking the community, but I just want you to know this. Hello? I want you to know this. I'm 79 on my next birthday. I'm not letting anything bad happen to Kupuna, okay? I give you my word on that, okay? I understand it and I feel it. Thank you all for being here tonight. God bless all of you. Thank you.